Hello, so a common question I'm asked is, how do you jump so high? Or my students often ask me, what's your vertical? Well, because I get asked these questions so often, I'm going to make an entire video on how I jump so high. Now, I'm also going to include some lifts you can use to make your own workout and explain why each one is really important to helping you jump higher. Now, I may not be the best jumper in the world, but I have a standing reach of about 8'1". Yes, I'm kind of tall, and I can touch 10 foot 11 inches on a standing jump. I've never tested my running vertical, but there's been times where I've pretty much got my elbow at the rim, so I should tell you how high I can jump. Now, first off, we're going to talk about physics, but before you panic and leave, I'm going to make it very simple for you. When jumping, our goal is to produce as much force as possible. The more force we have, the higher we jump, and the more we push off the ground. Now, physics does have a formula to find force, which is force, keep in mind that's the number we want as high as possible, is equal to mass, this is how much we weigh, times acceleration, which is how fast we're moving when we leave the ground. So force equals mass times acceleration. Those are the three key components to jump higher. Okay, so we know force equals mass times acceleration, but now what? If we want a bigger force, we want to increase either our mass or our acceleration. Hopefully, we already know that. The larger someone is, the harder it is for them to jump off the ground. So, knowing that, we don't want to increase our mass. We actually want to increase our acceleration. But how do we do that? The next thing we need to ask ourselves is what actually makes our body move, and specifically our legs? Well, that's muscles. So, using this knowledge, if we want to jump as high as possible, we need to increase our acceleration. And to increase our acceleration, we need more muscles in our legs. So, I got some bad news for you guys. If you want to jump as high as possible, you can't skip leg day. You have to hit leg day. Now, inside our body, we have two types of muscle fibers, two main types. There's more, but we're going to stick with two. Keep it simple. You have fast twitch, and we have slow twitch. Slow twitch muscle fibers are used in movements for something that requires a lot of endurance, like running a mile. On the other hand, you have your fast twitch muscle fibers, which are normally going to be in your movements that are really intense, like if you do a really heavy bench press or jumping. In general, when lifting to improve overall strength, which will help us increase how fast we can run before we jump, keep in mind we want to have our rep ranges low so we can put more weight on and really improve that explosiveness. So to start off, we have compound lifts. These are lifts that are going to use pretty much every single part of your body. This is going to be your bench press, your squats, your cleans. Those are probably your main lifts, also deadlift. Now, we're going to keep these, at least for this little cycle that I do, in your 4 to 6 rep range. Can you go more? Of course you can. Can you go less? You can. I wouldn't go much below 3 though, because you're going to risk some injuries with that. I tend to stick with 5 sets of 5, and that's just worked for me in the past. Of course, everyone has a different opinion though. I'm not going to say this is the best way to increase your vertical. This will require another video to go through why there's 5 sets of 5 and why you might not want to do, say, 6 sets of 15. So what exercises would be good though to help us achieve our goal of jumping higher? First off, the squat. This is the alpha leg exercise that you literally can't go wrong with. It works pretty much every single part of your lower body, which is why it is, depending on who you talk to, the best exercise for increasing your vertical. Personally, what I do is I do my 5 reps of 5, and I kind of lie. I might even do 6 or 7 reps of 5 until I cannot finish those 5 anymore. Afterwards, I do what's called a drop set and take off a 45 from each side. So, you might be stuck with, I don't know, 185 at that point, or whatever weight you use. Keep in mind the taller you are, the less you can lift. Hooray, I love being tall. And then after your drop set, you take off those 45s and you rep out as many as possible. Now, will walking up and down stairs be the worst thing ever? Yes, but you can jump higher, so it pays off. Now, after squats, there's a lot of really great contenders like Bulgarian split squats, RDLs, and cleans. Now, I'll admit, first of all, I don't do cleans. But if you look at the data or talk to anyone who's played, say, D2, D1 sports, cleans are the best exercise in general. So why don't I do cleans? It's honestly just because I don't have good form and I've never took the time to learn. RDLs are also a really great lift because it's going to help the back of your leg. This is known as your hamstring. So why are the hamstrings important? Every time you move your leg, think of it as a push and pull motion. You have your quadricep muscle, the quad, which is the front of your leg, and your hamstring, or your hammies, which is the back part of your leg. Every time your quad tightens, your hamstring loosens, and vice versa. It works as a push and pull. So therefore, to have a good vertical, we want both parts of our leg as strong as possible. By the way, I did forget to mention earlier that the quad is the main muscle that produces the force to jump off the ground. Now, last of all, moment of silence for everyone, the Bulgarian split squats. No man actually likes this exercise, but the sooner you learn this is the secret to jumping higher, you will jump higher. No pun intended. On a quick side note though, if you know someone who actually likes Bulgarian split squats, make sure you check in with them and make sure they're doing mentally okay. Highly recommend it because no man actually likes doing split squats. So next up we have sprints. Now, I'm not going out here to say do a 400-meter sprint, do a 200, do a 100-meter sprint. I don't care how fast your 100-meter sprint time is in terms of jumping. What I actually recommend is working on your initial startup. You want to go from 0 to, in card terms, 0 to 60 as fast as you can. So I recommend 10 to 30 meters just to work on hitting that top speed as quick as possible. Can you go more? Can you do 50? Can you do 70? Of course you can, but that's personally what I recommend. Now, although most great jumpers aren't like the best sprinters in the world, when you see people at the top of their jumping game, they can normally hit that 11 to 12 second mark because of all the force they need to jump just correlates perfectly with sprinting and vice versa. Most sprinters are actually really good jumpers because they kind of work hand in hand with each other. Now remember, our acceleration comes from how fast we can run. So if we break down that formula, force equals mass times acceleration. If we sprint faster, we have a bigger acceleration, which when we multiply our weight by our acceleration means we have a higher force. Now, the last exercise I routinely do is going to be calf raises. Calf raises won't increase your vertical by full inches, but it can help you push over the edge from, for example, just being able to barely touch the rim to actually grabbing the rim. But once again, it's kind of the cherry on top. If you have really strong calves, it's not going to make you go from like a 25-inch vertical to a 30. It might get you from a 25 to a 26, maybe 27. It kind of gives you that extra little boost. Now, before I go over a sample workout, let's talk about the #1 jumping mistake I see when helping people get their first dunk. Now, keep in mind, our force is equal to mass times acceleration. The most common mistake people do is they're running up as fast as they can. By the way, say hi to the kitty right there. But they're running as fast as possible. In their last 1 or 2 steps, they slow down. It's very common, especially with 2-foot jumpers, where they'll be running, they'll take a mini hop, and then they'll jump. All that sprinting they've done, they've completely killed. Now, it's not a perfect way, but if you are a 2-foot jumper and want to know if you're losing a ton of your speed on your approach, what someone taught me a long time ago when I was in high school is instead of starting at the 3-point line, you start at about the free throw line. And just notice if you're jumping the same height. If you are, that means you are 100% losing a lot of your speed on your jump. Now, if they're different heights, you still could be losing some speed, but it's a lot less than what most people are. So without further ado, here's a sample workout. Now remember, this is just a 1-day workout and it's not a plan. Now, a good workout plan, you're going to vary your lifts, sets, and reps. And overall, just the amount of weight you lift. You're going to change almost everything. A good workout sample, though, like what I give you, is just 1 day. So can you use this for the rest of your life? Of course, but I'd recommend adding some variability to it. So starting off, you have to make sure you stretch. Do maybe a light jog, 100, 200, 400, and then maybe some high knees, butt kicks, lunges, side lunges, and whatever else you like doing. You just gotta make sure you're warmed up so you don't pull anything. Now, after you're warmed up, I recommend doing your sprints straight away. Now, it depends who you talk to. Some say sprints before, some say after, some say in the middle of the workout. Let's be real. You are trying to make yourself better, you will. Are you gonna have like the extra 2% gain if you do it one way versus another? Probably not. But because you are trying to go to the gym and improve yourself, you will improve yourself. The person sitting on the couch or that cat right there will not improve themselves. Look at how lazy that man is, just not doing anything. Now, these sprints should not exhaust you, but they shouldn't be easy. I recommend doing probably 5 to 10 sprints at about that 30-meter mark. Keep in mind, you want to go from 0 to 60 as fast as possible. I would recommend, though, your first 1 or 2 sprints, you just kind of ease into it, do a slow, like maybe 70-80%, just in case you're not fully stretched. You don't want to pull a muscle at the very start of your lift. So next up, like I mentioned, I like doing squats for 5 sets of 5. Of course, you can do whatever you like. This is what I recommend. Now, after hit my squats to either failure or near failure, keep in mind, if you have stairs to walk up, you'll feel them the next day. I like doing some RDLs, and I tend to do 4 sets of 6 to 8 RDLs because I want to work on my hamstrings next. Now, if you don't have good form, highly recommend looking up a video because your back will tell you, hey, you had some pretty bad form, you should fix that. Now, if you aren't sure, trust me, just ask someone at the gym. We may look scary, but the gym is probably one of, if not the most encouraging, helpful places you will ever go to. Are there going to be some outliers who make fun of you? Of course there are. You can go anywhere where that won't happen. But the gym generally has some of the nicest people I've ever met, and they're really open to helping you because they want to improve themselves, and they take all this information, and if nobody asks them, hey, how do I do this? Well, they're just sitting on that information and they can't tell anyone. They want to share. They want to be helpful. They want to see you improve. Now, if you want to cry, I highly recommend doing it now because we're going to do 3 sets of 8 on each one of your legs for a Bulgarian split squat. Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Now, after you've got done bawling your eyes out because you had to do Bulgarian split squats, we got the nice cherry on top, which is about 4 sets of 8 calf raises. Now, very important, make sure you do not bounce your calves on the ground. First of all, it can really hurt your calves. And second of all, if you don't go nice and slow and controlled, you're just cheating yourself. Sure, you're lifting more weight, but you're using momentum, so you're really not lifting more weight. Now, hopefully this video does help you out and answer a bunch of questions. If you have any more questions, ask away below. After all, this was just a broad view understanding.